Welcome back to Press Review. Let's start by taking a look at today's front pages in the Middle East. Starting in Lebanon, the Daily Star reports that Lebanon's ambassador to South Korea, Jad Saeed al-Hassan, has died in a car accident in Seoul. The paper also reports that in a second day of voting, Syrians living in Lebanon headed to the embassy in Yazd to cast ballots in the presidential election. The Egypt Independent reports on Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the general who toppled Egypt's first freely elected leader, swept to victory in a presidential election. Provisional results showed on Thursday, joining a long line of leaders drawn from the military. The paper also reports that the Egyptian Ministry of Transportation decided on Wednesday to provide free tickets of transportation buses and railway trains only for 48 hours, as a step to ease the transportation for voters moving from their workplace to their home city where they are registered to vote. The UAE's Gulf News leads reporting that President Barack Obama mounted a defiant defense of his global leadership yesterday, rebuking critics who see him as weak, but warning that not every global threat justifies a US military response. The paper also reports that sweeping law reforms by the UAE in recent years to protect expatriate workers have been highlighted in a new report from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, including outlawing employer confiscation of workers' passports, allowing workers to transfer sponsorship between employers, and introducing wage protection measures. Saudi Arabia's Arab News reports that the Labour Ministry has fixed the working hours for women between 9 a.m. and 11 p.m. to ensure that women don't begin work too early and don't work after streets become empty. The paper also reports that Hajj Minister Bandar Hajar has warned domestic Hajj service operators against increasing Hajj service charges, adding that companies that impose exorbitant prices would be fined up to 100,000 Saudi riyals. And the Jerusalem Post leads reporting that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said building everywhere in Jerusalem, including areas over the pre-1967 lines, is the best response to those who deny Israel's right to exist. The paper also reports that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has endorsed his Likud nemesis, MK Reuven Rivlin, for the June 10th presidential election, completely changing the dynamics of the race. Let's take a look at the top Middle East news from UK papers. The Guardian leads its Middle East news, reporting on Egypt's presidential elections, saying that initial results show ex-army chief won more than 90% of votes. But opposition activists say the election was meaningless amid a months-long crackdown on dissent that has stifled Egypt's opposition and frightened all but one man from challenging Sisi. The Telegraph leads its Middle East news, reporting that thousands of Syrians desperate to vote for Bashar al-Assad swamped their embassy in Lebanon, taking part in a chaotic voting day for expatriates. The paper says traffic came to a standstill, blocking roads for miles around as crowds made their way to join the bottleneck of thousands of voters at the embassy entrance in Yazd. The Independent leads its Middle East news, reporting that Israeli authorities have allegedly issued eviction orders to dead people who clear a village that has been already demolished dozens of times. The paper adds that some of the orders were issued against people who were buried there, as well as for people no longer resident in the village. Now let's take a look at the top Middle East news in international papers. The Los Angeles Times reports that Israeli authorities have hospitalized 40 Palestinian detainees who were taking part in a weeks-long hunger strike, according to media and prison service officials. The paper says the Palestinians are part of a larger group of prisoners who have refused food for nearly 5 weeks in protest of Israel's use of administrative detention, which allows holding individuals without charge or trial for various periods of time. And finally, China's Global Times says Syrian nationals in Lebanon and Jordan started to cast their ballots for a new president at embassies despite strong criticism. The paper adds that according to the latest UN statistics, Lebanon now hosts more than 1 million Syrian refugees, which, as the Lebanese government claims, adds to another 500,000 Syrians who already live in the country before the Syrian crisis erupted. And for more updates, please visit levant.tv. Thanks for watching. Be sure to join us again tomorrow. Bye for now.